Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating case where a surgery that's done thousands of times a day, something totally routine, suddenly became this high-stakes medical puzzle. And it was all because of a hidden disease the medical team had to uncover and, well, outsmart.
Okay, so let's get into this case. It all starts with a situation that looks, completely straightforward on paper. But as we are about to see, the real story was lurking just beneath the surface.
Our story is about a 55-year-old woman, and on the schedule for the day, what looked like a totally standard, really low-risk orthopedic surgery.
So the plan couldn't be simpler, right? A low-risk elective surgery to take out some metal hardware from a femur injury she had 5 years ago. I mean, what could be more routine? But as any expert will tell you, in medicine, there's really no such thing as routine.
And this is where everything changes. Because buried in her medical history was a diagnosis from a couple years back that turned this whole thing on its head. This one detail turned a simple hardware removal into a really complex, high-stakes challenge for the entire medical team. So the complication wasn't a new injury or some last-minute surprise. It was a pre-existing condition, a rare autoimmune disease called dermatomyositis. And for the anesthesiologist, let me tell you, that diagnosis meant the standard playbook, it just got tossed right out the window.
So what even is dermatomyositis, or DM? It's not just a rash or some muscle soreness. The key word here, the one you really need to focus on, is systemic, right? This means the disease isn't just in one place. It's a body-wide condition that can attack the lungs, the heart, the gut, all of it. Suddenly, the anesthesia plan wasn't just about sleep and pain anymore. It was about protecting every single one of her vital organ systems.
Her case was pretty much textbook. She had the classic muscle weakness, making simple things like climbing stairs really difficult. She had the telltale skin signs. But here's the real kicker, the clue that totally changed the game for the anesthesia team: a positive test for the anti-Jo-1 antibody. Now, that's not just some lab result. No, that is a massive red flag. It's screaming danger ahead because it points to a super high risk of serious and possibly hidden lung disease.
So with that knowledge, everything had to shift. The team couldn't assume anything was normal. Anesthesia wasn't just a step in the process anymore. It was like navigating a minefield where every organ system could be a potential trigger.
So you get this team of specialists, rheumatologists, surgeons, anesthesiologists, and they all come together to map out this minefield. And here's what they find. Okay, risk 1, endocrine. She's been on long-term steroids, so her body might not handle the stress of surgery. It could just crash. Risk 2, pulmonary. That antibody, remember? It's a huge warning to check for hidden lung damage. Risk 3, cardiac. Her heart could be inflamed. And then risk 4, neuromuscular. And this last one presented a direct life-or-death decision about the anesthesia drugs themselves.
And yeah, that last point, the neuromuscular risk, that led to the single biggest problem they had to solve. To do the surgery, the patient's muscles need to be relaxed. But how do you do that safely when the very drugs you use for that job could be, well, catastrophic?
And this is the tightrope they had to walk. I mean, just look at these options. The standard go-to drug, succinylcholine, absolutely off the table. Forbidden. In this patient, it could trigger this massive muscle breakdown and a fatal spike in potassium. So, nope, can't use that. The alternative, rocuronium, doesn't have that risk, but, and this is a huge but, patients with DM are crazy sensitive to it. A normal dose could leave her paralyzed for way too long. So they were literally caught between a drug that was a definite no and another that was a very, very risky maybe.
So, with no safe, standard option on the table, what do? You don't use the textbook. You write a new chapter. The team had to basically engineer a master plan from scratch, one that was tailored specifically for this one patient.
Okay, so check out this 4-part strategy. It's brilliant. Step 1, to deal with that adrenal risk, they give her a stress dose of hydrocortisone. Step 2, for the muscle relaxant, they're going to use rocuronium, but an incredibly tiny, precisely calculated dose. Step 3, okay, but how do you measure that? Well, you use constant, real-time feedback from a special train of 4 monitor. And step 4,
No chances. After surgery, she goes straight to the ICU for 24 hours of super close observation.
And really, if you want to get a sense of just how precise we're talking, this number says it all, 25%. That's it. That's the dose of rocuronium they used, not half, a quarter of what a normal patient would get. I mean, that razor-thin margin is the difference between success and disaster, and it all comes down to their deep, deep understanding of her specific physiology.
And you know, this incredible planning didn't just stop when the surgery was done. Nope. Take a look at their pain management strategy. See, opioids can slow down your breathing, which is a massive risk for her. So, opioids were the absolute last resort. The clear priority was finding safer, non-opioid ways to manage her pain. Every single stage of her care was completely rethought.
All right, and then you have the moment of truth, waking her up. Before they could even think about taking out her breathing tube, they needed solid proof she could breathe all on her own. And this was their target, over 90%. So they're just watching that monitor, waiting for it to hit that number, the gold standard that says, yep, her muscles are back online, they're strong enough to take over. Only then was it safe to move forward.
So after all that, what's the big picture here? What can we really take away from this incredibly complex, high-pressure, but ultimately successful case?
Look, the success here, it wasn't luck. It was engineered. It happened because they brought different specialists together, because of that obsessive, deep-dive pre-op session, because of the precision it took to use a safer drug at just a fraction of its normal dose, and because they planned for every single thing that could possibly go wrong.
You know, in the end, I think this quote from the study just says it all. It's a perfect summary. This case demonstrates how critical a personalized, science-based, and risk-oriented approach is in anesthesia practice. I mean, it's a total masterclass. It's a reminder that the best medicine happens when you combine science, personalization, and a healthy respect for what could go wrong.
And that really leaves us with this final thought, doesn't it? This case pulled back the curtain on just one so-called routine procedure. It just makes you wonder how much hidden complexity, how much of this expert navigation is happening every single day in operating rooms all over the world just to keep us safe.